Now, so what am I going to do over here? I have this formula over here. Now this formula is actually a formula to calculate the volume of the cone, but today we are not going to use this formula to calculate that. We are going to play around with this formula today. So today we are going to rearrange this formula in a way that we will make R the subject. Now what does it mean by making R the subject? Right, so basically it means when we rearrange the formula, it will mean that R is going to equals to, something right now, okay? So think about this, my R, it's here, all right, correct? So in a way that I need to move all these numbers, all these pi, unknown, and this square over here to the left-hand side. I'm going to move everything here to the left-hand side, and I'm going to leave R alone. Right? When I successfully leave R alone, I have only made R the subject. R is going to equal to something right now. Okay, so that's what it means. Now let's start. How do we do this? Okay. Now let's start by understanding what does it mean over here. Again, let's take a look at this formula. This fraction is sticking to this pi, and this pi is sticking to this r, and this r is sticking to this h. When you have a number sticking to an alphabet, it means an operation, a multiplication operation. All right, very similar. If I have 2a, so basically it means 2 times a, right? Because they are sticking together, okay? So let's use this understanding to rewrite this first. So what I have right now, I will have v equals to 1 over 3 multiply pi multiply r square multiply h, right? Okay? And let's take a look at this. What else can we do? All right, we want to simplify this first. Okay, so let's take a look. Now again, for any numbers over here, I can change it to a fraction. I can write as over 1, over 1, over 1. Whatever number is this, over 1, you will get the same number, all right? Now according to the fraction multiplication rule, how can we solve this? You can just take top multiply top, all right? And then bottom multiply with bottom, okay? So what do we get from here? All right, we will get v, it's gonna equals to pi r square h, right? So everything just multiply together, so what do I get is pi r square h, and my denominator here is gonna be over 3, right? Okay? Now again, what's my goal here? My goal over here is to leave this r alone. All right, that's my goal over here, is to leave this r alone. So which means this 3, I need to move over here. This pi, I need to move over here. This h, I need to move over here. All right, and finally, only this square, I need to move over here. So let's move everything one by one. All right, let's start with this 3 first, okay? So this 3, if I move over here, it will pass through the equal sign. So this is a division operation. If I pass through the equal sign, this will become a multiplication operation, right? So I will write this as 3v, it's equals to pi r square h, right? Now what do we do from here now? Okay, what can we do from here? Again, let's try to establish what we understand over here. All right, we have already know if we have things sticking together, it means multiplication. So I'm going to write like this. 3v is equals to pi multiply r square multiply h. All right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move the pi and the h first, one by one. All right. So this pi, I'm going to move it here first. Okay. Again, this pi is a multiplication operation because it's multiplying over here. So when I move over to the equal sign, it will be a division operation. So what I will get 3v over pi, all right? And what is remain over here is going to be r squared times h, right? Okay? So far, okay? Now what's my next one? Now again, I want to make R the subject. So if I want to make R the subject, this is going to be the last thing you're going to move. You're going to move every other things first. Okay? So the next thing I'm going to move is H. Okay? Again, H is a multiplication operation. If I move over to the equal sign, it's going to be a division operation. Now let's see how do we write this. Now this will look a bit funny, but bear with me, yeah? So let's take a look over here. So over here we have 3v over pi, and after I move h over, this is going to be over h, right? And this whole thing will be equals to r squared. Now let's take a look over here. I know it looks a bit funny. I have a fraction over fraction. What's that, right? But to understand this better, let's put a bracket so we know what's going on. So let's put a bracket over here. All right. So in another word, think of it like this. This right now is the numerator over the denominator, and this equals to r squared. Now before we continue, we can actually simplify this first. All right. Now let's take a look. Let's see what do we understand from this. We have a fraction over this. In another word, I can actually also rewrite this. I'm going to write blue pen here. It's going to be this divide by this, right? So I'm going to write this down over here. So 3v over pi divide by h. It's the same thing, right? Same meaning, right? So again, for any number, alphabet over here, I can always make this into fraction. So this, I can write this as over 1, right? So right now, I am dividing a fraction right now. So based on the fraction rule for division, I'm going to divide a fraction now. So based on the division rule of fraction, I can change this to multiplication. And when I do that, I will be flipping the fraction, right? So I'm going to write it like this now. 3v over pi. I'm going to multiply with 1 over h, right? And finally, based on the multiplication rule of fraction, we can just multiply all this in. And what do we get here? We will get 3v over pi h. So in another word, this expression over here, it's equals to this one. So let's write this instead. So over here, I can rewrite this as 3v over pi h. And this is equals to r squared, right? Now finally, the last step. Now r is alone. So what's left right now is this square over here. So I'm going to move this over here. Now, the opposite of square will be square root, all right? But please be very careful over here. This whole fraction is already here, right? So when you move this square root over here, it's going to square root the whole thing, the whole fraction here. So how are you going to write it? I'm just going to draw the square root out. First, it's going to be the whole thing over here. Right? It's going to be the whole thing over here. And then you will now write down the fraction will be 3v over pi. All right, it's going to be over pi h, and that will be equals to r. So with that done, we have successfully made r the subject over here. All right, so that's how we do it. Now I'm gonna show you another way to do this. Right now, say another way is basically I'll be skipping few steps. In fact, I will be actually skipping this step. All right. So I'm gonna do this again, but I'm gonna skip this step over here, and I'm gonna show you how to get to this directly. All right. So I'm gonna start from here. So I want to see what happened over here. So over here, I have v, it's equals to pi r square h over 3, all right? So we have already established and understand here, we can move this up. 3v is equals to pi r square h, right? Now I'm gonna jump here to here directly, okay? But see how do I do that, Now again, we have already established and understand, we understand all this thing is multiplication, all right? Which means pi times r squared times h, all right? But think about it. Does it matter how these are arranged in multiplication? Let's check it out. So let's just say if I have 1 times 2 times 3, right? And this is going to give me the answer 6. But what if I rearrange this value? Let me say, let's just say I put 2 over here times 1 times 3. My answer will be 6 as well, right? So if I were to swap again, let's just say I start with 3 this time, times, let's just say 2, all right, and then times 1, okay, I will get 6 as well. So what does this tells you over here? So when you are multiplying, it doesn't matter how you arrange the numbers, okay? They will get the same answer. Now, based on this understanding, we can actually do something with this, all right? So over here, I can rearrange it as 3v, it's equals to pi h r squared. All right. So when I put this, now what does this mean? All right. I have just swap place with this only. All right. Again, I have established understand here. If you multiply this and multiply this, you will still get the same answer, right? All right. But over here, I'm gonna do this right now. Okay. Now take a look what this means now. 3v is equals to pi h multiply r squared, right? Okay. So right now again, I want to leave this as a subject. That's why I combine these two. So what do I do these two right now? I will circle this because it's a multiplication operation. If I move over to equal sign, it will be division directly, right? So I can rewrite this as 3v over pi h is equals to r squared. All right, see? I have skipped this step already, right? So finally, same thing. Square, move over to the other side, it's going to be the whole thing square root. And what's inside the square root is going to be 3v over pi h, and that will be equals to r. So you have successfully made r the subject already. Okay?